Where you do that, you know how it was created? It was created during the time when your mother signed a birth certificate in the hospital. I'll show you a birth certificate up here. What they did was, the mother had a baby and they created a baby. But the baby that they created was on paper. And Lexus, get me the baby.
Look at the baby. Pause that
This worksheet is what a mother has to fill out when she goes to the hospital. You see, I have all these babies around here, what I use to teach the class, but I got 2 little girls in front of me. And they always take the babies. No matter what I do with the babies, they take the babies. It's very important to understand that struggle. That's called a birth. And before they bring the material or the supplies off the ship, they need a certificate of manifestation, what you call a birth certificate. Same way when a woman goes to the hospital, she is delivering human resource. And once she delivers the human resource, she needs a certificate of manifestation, what you call a birth certificate also. Because they're really using the law of the sea, which is called maritime law. I got to get warmed up against that. But in the hospital, they have, anytime you go to the hospital, this document here is the document that, only document that you need to fill out. This document here is on my granddaughter when she was in the hospital. But you got to know the certain things and certain type of laws to put on this document, okay? To bring my granddaughter to the hospital, we use 2 treaties. Those treaties are the Declaration of Human Rights and the Universal Declaration of the Rights of a Child. Now, the Declaration of Human Rights came in 1948. The Universal Declaration of a Child came in 1959. Now, if you go to Article 15, which I have it right there on the wall, of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it states in there that every man, woman, and child is entitled to a name and a nationality. Now, if you look at this document here, where we put the word more in, they tried to put Afro-American. You understand what I'm saying? There's no such thing as an Afro-American. In reality, there's no such thing as an American. The word American, America is a mispronunciation of the name what our ancestors called this continent, Al-Marak. Before it was called Al-Marak, it was called Atlan, A-T-L-A-N. Before it separated, it was called, like this continent right here, was called Pangea. During the separation, which some people call continent drift, but continent drift happened when the shiftness of the surface, you know, different areas of the surface, not that the earth split over, because the earth is still together, the earth is split over. It was the surface of the earth that split. And this part of the land became known as Atlantis. The Greeks added a tis to it and became known as Atlantis. The Moors over here call it what? Al-Marak. The Chinese that came here in the 4th century, they call it Amaxin. The word Amaxin is a Chinese word that means providence out of China. That's where you get the name Mexico and Texas from. Okay, going back to this document here. So they told us we could not bring the baby out of the hospital. But we preferred them back to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 1948 and the Universal Declaration of the Rights of a Child of 1959. And Principle 3 in the Universal Declaration of the Rights of the Child states the same thing, that you have a right to a name and a nationality. Now what they did in the hospital, they tried to drug my daughter. Remember the natural baby was already, the mother had already filled out the hospital worksheet for the natural baby. Now for the unnatural baby, they created their baby it don't matter what you name your baby because they come right behind you and create another baby, the same name. If you name your baby and say, I'm going to name my baby Buckskin Charlie. Only thing they would do, come right behind you and put Buckskin Charlie in all capital letters. And that's called a nothing to give, which some people prefer to as a straw man. So in other words, what did they create? They created a dummy what? Corporation. Where they can do business with you. Now you look at this thing called a birth certificate. This thing here, my daughter refused to sign it, but they came in the middle of the night. They had drugs in it because she had to give her something for pain. So they would come in the middle of the night try to get her to sign because they take this thing here, they sell it on the stock market once you sign for how much money? 650 grand. Over $500,000. Sell it across the stock market. Now they put it in the paper, you know, different places, but our people don't really read about stock. In the paper, what is it called? It's called preferred stock. And preferred stock is what? That's chattel property. You know, like you say, the NAACP. And the NAACP, what's the name of the NAACP? It's called the National Advancement of Chattel People. That's what, not colored people, but chattel people. Okay? So you understand, you don't sign this at all. Now you look to the sign, you go right here. Look right here what it says right here. Informant. Right here on the birth certificate. Informant. Once the mother signs this thing here, she signs the child over as a ward of the what? State. So even before he's even wearing a diaper, he becomes a what? A criminal. Because she signed this thing right here, informant. That's the reason anytime you see your name on a driver's license, a birth certificate, or anything, it always comes in all caps. But once the mother signed, they bring all this together as what? One. She's informing them that you and the all capital letter, dummy corporation, and the baby are all the same. So all your life you walk around with what on your back? With a monkey on your back, not even knowing it. And you wonder why the police can bust in your house and do all these things to you, why you get treated the way you get treated. It's because your mother signed this contract. Now coming from this contract expires at what age? This thing expires at what age? It expires at age 18. But they already set you up, haven't they? How they set you up? Because most of the people couldn't wait to get their driver's license when they were 16. So you volunteer to put yourself right back into what? Contract. Now what's the worst contract? The worst contract is what? A voter's registration. So once you file the voter's registration, once you sign a voter's registration, go to that committee, right? What did they do? What did you do to yourself? It's the worst contract of all. You go to California Election Code section what? 2200, and it states in there that the registration of a voter is permanent for all what? All purposes. And the question is, what purposes? Now you can go to any law library, just like you live in Ohio. You can go to Ohio, the law library says you can pull this up right there in the library. She's trying to find it up here now because I teach up this every day. I think it's very important that I have these things up because I've been wanting people to. A picture is worth what? 1,000 words. 1,000 words. Let's see, what you put back? You went a long way, sir. See, during the time when Obama was running for president, it wasn't the fact that they didn't want to choose to register to vote for Obama because basically when you're voting, none of your votes count anyway. But they used the trick to tell you that, I think I'm going to have to find it. That's the fun always.